Hi, welcome to Miss V and Co. I'm V, and my co are my plants. And you might notice I have fewer plants than usual. That's because my jade had a mushroom growing in it, and my rose died. It was a very sad day, but I'd only had the rose for a little while, and I didn't really expect it to live. So, what can you do? Today, I'm talking about Viking Warrior Rising by Asa Maria Bradley. I thought this would be a good book, right? I mean, I started the book and it had all the elements, right? You had angsty main character, you had angsty other main character. Yeah, they're both angsty. They're both angsty. Of course, the heroine has like tragic backstory and she's like ultra angsty. You've got like kind of the paranormal aspect and like so therefore you have an excuse to like kick butt and all that. And you have Vikings are super cool. I love Norse mythology. I'm so about that life. And then you've got what else have we got? You've got, labs that are experimenting on people. You have, reluctant romance. I mean, I thought this would be great. And the beginning of the book was, in my opinion, pretty good. I mean, the Norse mythology aspect, you kind of have to take with a grain of salt because anything that's taking like these are Einarjar, I believe they're called. Like they're the warriors that died in battle and went to Valhalla, but according to this lore, Odin sent a group of them back with our main character Leif as their king, and they're supposed to stop Loki from taking over the world and starting Ragnarok. It was kind of weird. I think in Norse mythology, Ragnarok is supposed to be inevitable, which is why the whole thing doesn't make that much sense from a Norse mythology perspective. Beyond that, we've got this like soulmates bond thing going on, and apparently very few Vikings are ever blessed enough to meet their Sjálsfrænde, which is basically soulmate. I have a pretty good intuition when it comes to Nordic languages, Germanic languages, but I did look it up just to make sure it's right. Sjálsfrænde basically translates to soul kinsman. Yeah, apparently Odin and Freya choose your Sjálsfrænde, and they bless your relationship, and at some point after they orgasm, the gods visit them and are like, I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. Odin would never, and Freya really probably wouldn't. Like, oh my goodness, the Norse gods are not gods of love. You cannot convince me that Odin would waste his time handpicking soulmates for even a couple of his people. Like, no, absolutely not. I mean, maybe Odin would come to Earth and for some nefarious purpose seduce somebody's wife, but he's not gonna play matchmaker. No. And you're gonna have Freya, like, I feel like if you're gonna have, like, I know that Freya is in charge of the Valkyries and stuff, but if you're gonna have like two Norse gods, yes, Odin and Freya are some of the more recognizable ones, but if you're gonna have them like pick your soulmate and you're gonna want it to be like Odin and Frigg, maybe. Or it doesn't even have to be Odin and Freya. Why do Odin and Freya do everything? Like Thor is referenced once or twice, but it's like, are those the only three Norse gods to you? Like Odin and Frigg are married, right? Or you could have Thor and Sif, because they actually like get along, so maybe they would want other people to be happy. Like, I could get behind that, and since Thor is like the war god, then maybe it would make sense for Thor to be trying to pitch these people together, because he's in charge of the warriors and they're out here doing war stuff. Or hell, it would be fun if you had Skady and I forget his name, but he has the hot feet. Because the story is that Skady was in love with Balder and she wanted the gods to pay penance because they killed her father. She's a frost giant. And so she went to Asgard and she was like, y'all, you killed my dad, so I'm gonna kill all of you unless you let me marry Balder. And the gods, specifically Loki, was like, well, how about this? You don't kill us, but we let you marry the god whose feet you like best. And Skady picked the wrong person, and she's like a really frosty, like ice giant, and he's like the god of the tropics, basically, god of the sea, and they don't get along. But wouldn't it be ironic? Because like theirs is one of the only marriages that is like one of the more popular stories in the Norse pantheon, just because it's so funny. Or you could have Balder and Nanna do it, because Balder is like an all-around nice guy, right? And as far as I know, Loki hasn't killed Balder yet in the point in which this story happens. So Balder and Nanna would be a better choice for putting these two people together. Why the hell are you making Freya and Odin do it? Freya and Odin can be in charge of the warriors, no problem. But like, they are not gods of love. Beyond that, I feel like when you're talking about Norse mythology, you tend to get kind of caught up with this whole Greek ideology, I think because of Percy Jackson, which I actually haven't read, but I think that Percy Jackson kind of tipped off a whole wave of people researching and genuinely just enjoying Greek mythology. So people take this Greek and Roman pantheon where the gods represent aspects of the world, and they try and put it onto other mythologies, which doesn't make sense for every pantheon. Yes, the Norse have Thor as like their god of war / thunder, and the fact that Thor is associated with thunder is why so many people, especially people around the target age for the Percy Jackson books, think that Thor is the king of the Norse gods when it's really Odin. But the thing is, the idea is that people are putting these kind of abstract / solid ideas from the Greek mythology onto, say, the Norse mythology. So they'll equate Freya with Aphrodite because they're both beautiful. You know, Freya is kind of, I guess, the Norse goddess of beauty. So they're kind of like, okay, so Freya equals Aphrodite, therefore Freya is the goddess of love. Freya is not the goddess of love. The Norse did not have, like, god of this, god of that. The Norse were a lot more just, these are cool, immortal people who sometimes have powers / abilities / things that give, like, magical things that make them powerful. And they do cool stuff. Here are some stories. So I feel like if you're reading this book, you can't be reading it thinking about Norse mythology, right? You kind of just have to take it as its own thing, and they're just using Norse mythology, Viking ideology as a starting point. It's not where it ended up, though. So let's talk a little bit more about the book. You start off with Naya escaping with her brother from evil lab compound. She'd already escaped, but she was busting her brother out. Then you cut 2 months later, and Leif is out here meeting some big bad guys, and Naya saves him. And they smooch, and according to the description of the book, that sets off their Sjálfsfrænda bond, and he's got this like half snake tattoo, and then it starts like completing itself. And if they don't complete their bond, he will go crazy because he has a berserker spirit inside him that drives him out of control or something. And apparently Leif just doesn't have as good control as he should. Like, he's so old or something that his berserker spirit is not easy to contain anyway, which isn't, I feel like you could have done without that plot point in this book, because anyone's supposed to be driven crazy when they are without their Sjálfsfrænda, when their bond is completed or something. And so the fact that they're like, he's out of control anyway, is just kind of pointless. So yeah, they have this bond, and so they're supposed to fall in love or something. But Leif, he knows that they need to like trust and respect each other and all that for the bond to work. But he doesn't want to fall in love with her because like he's just too busy right now to deal with love. Like, he just can't handle it, And Naya doesn't know anything about the bond, which is a problem. Like, if you've got some magical soulmate bond, you gotta tell them about it. Like, she learns about halfway through the book, and she doesn't blow up that much. And I'm like, sis, you deserve so much better. But Naya doesn't know about it. She doesn't want to fall in love because she thinks that he'll hate her for tragic backstory, and she needs to take care of her brother. It's the most important thing for her. So yeah, they both spend the entire book convincing themselves that they're not in love with each other. Leif a little bit less than Naya, but they're both like, oh, I'm not in love, I don't care about you. But so when they do that, I kind of start to believe it. I mean, I'm okay with that to an extent with books, but when you start going into like, the only time these characters got along was when they were having sex. I'm asexual. I need more than just sex to convince me that these characters are a good match, that they are good for each other, that their chemistry is in order, that they genuinely work, right? But all you have is like Leif being controlling, Naya not wanting to be controlled, which, like, go girl, and Leif being like, you will obey, and Naya being like, I will not, and then Leif being like, smoochy smoochy, and then they have sex and they have some weird orgasm. Again, why do the gods have to visit you after you orgasm? That's kind of weird. And then they don't like wake up together really or anything. They just keep going. And firstly, I agree with Naya. Like, he's being overly controlling, and he never owns up to that, which is really why I have a problem with the book. Overall, it's an entertaining read, right? Like, you got Vikings, you got Norse mythology, you got labs, you got all this kind of action and stuff, and you have all this angst and melodrama going on, and Leif's kind of a dumbass, and you expect him to learn from his mistakes and move on and have a good grovel. I mean, a good grovel fixes everything, but you don't see that. Hi, cat. I'm being joined by a cat. That's more of my cow. So you don't have anyone owning up to their actions, which just ruined the entire book for me. For one thing, what I think probably should have happened is when Naya is hanging out with Astrid before she leaves to go visit her brother and the compound and stuff, I feel like she should blow up at Astrid. Astrid should try and stop her from leaving the fortress, and she's like, I can't, Leif is too controlling, I can't be controlled again. And Astrid's like, you make a fair point. And then when Leif comes back, Astrid kind of relays the information. Astrid doesn't need to know how like the Skjalsfrende bond works, because it's apparently pretty individualized and it's not a lot of people know a lot about it. So, she could then relay the information to Leif, who realizes while he's going through this downward spiral that, yeah, he was crappy. And then when he does the whole rescue mission, whatever, from the compound for Naya, he apologizes for being so fucking controlling. But he doesn't, and it's just kind of like Naya is the one who's like, I never even got to tell him I loved him. It's like, really? Like, that's a necessary step? You have to tell him you love him. Look, I'm living vicariously through the female characters, right? So it's not that I'm inserting myself in as them, it's that I'm living through them. So when there's drama, I kind of want the male character to own up to his actions, and he doesn't. At the very end, he's like, I love you more than life itself, and she's like, I love you too. But they say that while they're undressing each other. Like, I did not buy their romance, and I did not buy the ending, and if Leif had just fucking groveled or something, I would probably be okay with it. I'd probably be okay with the ending. But Leif didn't own up to his actions, and that ruined the entire book. Also, his berserker spirit apparently takes the form of a bear, and it keeps howling. Why is a bear howling? Bears roar. Anyway, because I just finished the book, I figured I'd film a review about it. Hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.